Well, Jake Berry, that's him. Greg Selber, that's him. This is the show right here. We're halfway home. We got district races cranking up in 6 and 5A. These sub 5As are about ready to start district after kind of a bye week coming up. Jake, your impressions of the first half week or half year of the season?
Look, I mean, I think we have to kind of address the elephant in the room. We don't have a dominant team right now this year, and that's the one thing we've always had. Sharyland, Harlingen, Memorial. Yeah. We've always had a dominant team that we could look forward to watching. Yeah. I'm not saying there's not a lot to
pretty good ball clubs, yeah.
But there's some mediocrity across the board that. There hasn't been a dominant team yet, and I hope that we'll get to see one in the second half of the season.
Well, we haven't done a real great job against the out-of-valley teams. You look at Raymondville did beat Kingsville last week, and they're going to have a chance against Sinton, but overall our record is poor against out-of-valley teams. You go a lot of places and people want to talk football with you, and one of the things I'm hearing, and I'm not saying I agree per se, but I'm willing to entertain the possibility that it might be maybe not a down year, but a year that hasn't defined itself yet. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, look, we have some marquee players, but the teams are what drive this thing, and when your Wesicos and your Harlingen and your Sharyland, and Sharyland is probably one of the more dominant teams, but there hasn't been a team that just, that people gravitate towards.
They had no buzz team. There's only one unbeaten team left, right? Port Isabel.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple went down this week. Wesco East went down, and another one. So, hey.
St. Joe's.
Yeah, St. Joe. I look at it this way. It's competitive. And yes, we have not done as well as we're going to do. I expect some of the teams to pick it up and go from that pretty good level to the very good level, so that by the time we get some playoff rematches against out-of-state or out-of-valley teams, we'll be able to do a better job. So I'm not willing to sit here and say right now that I think it's a down year. Any year when you have Trevor Spates in the league, that's not a down year, because that's one of the best players in the state. So let's leave it at that. But just suffice to say that some years are better than others in overall quality of talent. There's a lot of reasons to explain that. And sometimes it's just bad luck. I'll tell you what, there's a sophomore class coming up at about 8 or 10 schools you could name. So next year is going to be something else.
Yeah. But there have been some teams that have surprised us. La Jolla has been one of those.
La Jolla and Rivera, they ought to play off. Both of those teams have been tough against a lot of really good outfits, and boy, they should play a bowl game at some point, because they both know how to keep it close.
Yeah, and for the most part, La Jolla's had the lead the last 2 weeks, and they've let it go in the last quarter, but still, I mean, the way they're playing.
You gotta like it. Let's see who they have this week. Let's start in La Jolla's district. La Jolla at McAllen on a Thursday. Now, McAllen pretty much took care of Mission. It was 48-7, and La Jolla was up 17-7 at one point on Memorial, and before the Mustangs came back.
Yeah, I mean, look, when you're able to corral Trevor Spates for three quarters, more or less, you're doing something right. They're passing the ball, which we haven't seen before out of a La Jolla team, and it's been hard for teams to match up. I know that the week before that they were really surprised. Memorial was, because we were at we were both at the
That's
game.
right. Yeah, remembers me.
They were surprised. They were surprised that La Jolla was throwing the ball.
Yeah, and they hit a couple of big ones. The thing that works against the Coyotes' favor is size and depth. They're not really that big. They don't have a ton of kids that come off the bench, but boy, they fight like crazy. I'm really impressed with La Jolla so far. Against McAllen, what do you expect?
Well,
will they do it again?
McAllen's not throwing the ball extremely well.
No, they're not. They pretty not one-dimensional, but yeah, they can throw it more than that with Hover. We'll see if they do.
Yeah, when you've got to rely on the run between Hover and Rodriguez, it almost it does make your team one-dimensional, but it also just I haven't seen them really turn it on defense. I mean, they really haven't turned it up on defense yet.
No, and this will be a good game for them to put the clamps down and say, not this time, La Jolla. We want to win this district, and we're going to beat you convincingly. Let's see if that happens on a Thursday. Oh, by the way, Carroll's still unbeaten. If you're looking at teams that McAllen has played, they had a wild one with United. Did you read about that one?
No.
It was back and forth the whole way. Carroll ended up beating them 51-44, but United just kept coming back like crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, so Carroll 5-0. Okay. Rowan Memorial, always an exciting game over there in McAllen's Memorial Stadium. The kid had 315 last week. What does he do for an encore? He faces a road defense that is among the bottom feeders so far, statistically speaking.
Yeah. And Rowe, I don't know what has happened since our first week when we were ready to anoint him.
I know, we had him in there.
And they played well against Cal Chelsea. But ever since, I mean, there was, it wasn't a very impressive win against Juarez Lincoln.
Yeah. Well, there was 21-21. I mean, Lincoln was hanging in there. See, I think Lincoln's getting better, and Rowe is still trying to find itself. But luckily they did get the win, so they're 1-0. Now they play Memorial. I think Memorial is pretty much on a roll, and they can overcome an average night and win a game like they did, then we'll see if they have trouble with Rowe. You've got the city rivalry angle, so don't overlook that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what's next? Mission at Palmview. Mission was wiped out pretty good. Palmview has hit kind of a little snag. They had that big series of games when they averaged about 360 rushing yards a game. They haven't kept the pace up the last couple of weeks. Now they got Mission, though, and they're going to want to win that game because those are neighbors. They don't particularly care for one another.
Yeah, and Mission, look, this isn't one of their better teams they've had. You know, they've had 2 weeks where they haven't scored a single point.
Yeah.
And this is going to be one of those games where Palmview can get back on track. Mission, you know, I mean, I haven't been too impressed yet.
Well, you know what? It's now or never in a sense, and nobody better in imparting that lesson to his team than Mario Pena. So let's see if Mission comes out with a better effort. Let's go to 31-6A. Okay, PSJ Memorial and Weslaco East. Memorial gets a win. They come back to beat the Jags of Economides, and East drops a double overtime game that we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah, you know what? North, or not North, is it?
PSJ Memorial.
PSJ Memorial. I'm very impressed with them. I didn't get to go see the game, but when they came back against Economides, I thought they were going to lose. I mean,
down 14-0, we're getting the score, and it's like, wait a minute, wow, okay.
It doesn't seem right, yeah. And then all of a sudden they came back, and that team can play well. I mean, they played Vela tough for 2.5 quarters.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they can play. They played tough, and they came back and won that game. I'm very impressed with them. 34 in a row for PSJ Memorial. Jonathan Trevino continues to be one of the unsung heroes, 156 yards. Okay, Weslaco East. They fell from the ranks of the unbeaten. They had Edinburgh North 21-14 in the fourth quarter. They let them come back. North hit a couple of bombs. East, you know, they scored in overtime. Then they scored again. But North ended up going for 2 on the second try. That's surprising, isn't it? That's a gamble, man. Yeah, it was. And, you know, but it's a gutsy play. But, you know, it's one that, you know, you can kind of do early in the season, especially when it was a game that nobody really thought you were going to win.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, let's be realistic about that.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this about Weslaco East now. They had 2 offensive linemen down, including a center. So I read in the paper it said something about bad snaps. I mean, bad plays by the quarterback, Darren Rivas. I was at the game, and it was a little bit more than that. You know, the snaps were high, they were low, they were around. This other kid's still getting his feet on the ground at center. So when they get those 2 linemen back, they were down a couple of linebackers. Not making excuses for the Wildcats. They still played pretty well.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about.
You have a chance to win.
That's right. When you're ahead, Lupe Moron, tall kid. He looks like he's a high stand-up runner, but boy, when contact comes, he'll lay a lick, man. I like that guy. He gets to the hole fast. He's a very good back. He had 170-something.
Yeah, and the highlights were online. I mean, you know, I think Coach Science, you know, put it best. I mean, he was very, you know, he knew that he beat a really good Weslaco East team.
Well, there are some guys in that East team that played great. That number 6, that linebacker, was all over the place there. You know, it was an exciting game, 36-35, double overtime, and you just hate to see one team lose that game. It happened to be Burgett's group. I think they'll be ready to play. That's a good ball game against PSJ Memorial.
Yeah, it is, and it's going to be a tough game, I mean, because they're a team that can air it out and they can run now. You know, so it's not a typical one-dimensional team. They can do it both ways. Indeed.
What about the job Jorge Pena has done? George Pena at PSJ North. We've been talking about them. They come close. They get close. Well, they got one last week. They took out Weslaco on the road. That's a big win.
Listen, I think right now, I don't want to jinx them, but I'm going
to,
I guess. I think PSJ North is a playoff team because what they did with Weslaco, holding them to 7 points.
Shut them down, 153 yards, and they had 53 was on one play first quarter.
Yeah, and you know what they did to them was very impressive. And what he's done offensively with that team, the way the kid threw the ball.
Olivares.
Yeah, Olivares.
He's not bad at all. He's a good-sized guy. I like him.
You'll see it in the highlights right now. He cut. The receiver gets jammed at the line, goes around the corner, and he just drops the ball right into the. It's a nice basket catch. It was beautiful. So the Raiders are looking pretty good. I think 2-3 overall. Doesn't matter. 1-0 in district. What about Weslaco? Let's get off track here for a second. The team they beat, Weslaco, 1-4, 0-1. You know, like I keep saying, well, you know, Coach Tony will get them going. It's time. Yeah. It's time, man. I mean, they got are at EHS on Thursday. Okay, they play Edinburgh High, a team that's 1-4 also. That the only win was against Mission. This should be a game Weslaco can win. You would think right now. I mean, offensively though, to only put 7 points up on the board, that's not a Tony B team. And you know they're not as fast as they have been in the past. Their defense isn't really as you know as stout as they have been. But Edinburgh's got trouble on offense. I mean, this is a team that they should beat, and they should probably beat by, you know, I would say about 14-21. Okay, well, we'll take that to the bank. Now let's go back to PSJ North because they have a good game coming up against Edinburgh North.
Aha, that's the game of the week in that district, I think.
Yeah, and talk about a team now, two teams that like to pass, even though Edinburgh North can run.
Yeah, they can run. Whiteside had almost 200 yards. I think he had 190 something. I got to redo my stats.
Was he a little dinged up at the end of the game?
Yeah, he was. He went out in overtime, and Tito Olivares, the basketball player, came in, made a great run, 10-yard touchdown. Then he scored a 2-point conversion. North threw a bomb to Michael Cantu, who to me is an odds-on. He's a candidate for MVP so far in the entire valley, man. He's got 400 and some yards receiving. He just finds the ball quicker than the defense. Martin Rodriguez, he'll make the cannon shot. Not necessarily just a jump ball, but Michael will find it.
They've
he
had a
finds
lot
it.
of Johnny Manziel last year. A lot of like balls up in the air that they've been able to pull down.
And it's because of that kid.
Yeah, and I wonder how long that will last because sometimes especially the kid's not 6'6".
No, he's barely 5'6", man.
Yeah.
Michael, but he's something. He really is, and he runs a 4.5, 4.4. Edinburgh North starting to believe in themselves because I feel like winning that game at home against a team that was unbeaten, I don't think a lot of people gave them that much chance to win. They may have said they did after the fact, but a lot of people are like, no, he's going to kick their butts. Well, they didn't. And so North strides forward to face PSJ North and a win right here and put you in the driver's seat in that district.
Oh yeah, I mean because they're gonna beat the Edinburghs.
He's always ripping on the Bobcats.
Well, I mean,
man.
they're going to beat Edinburgh. Economy will be a different story.
Yeah, I think it will. Jags ran into a snag, and that's a good ball game between them going back historically. So we'll see what happens. Well, that's 31-6A. Let's go down south, 32-5A. Harlingen Cardinals get a win, 17-10. Now they play
32-6A.
32. I messed it up. Okay, first time. 32-6A. Harlingen gets a win, 17-10 over Rivetta. They face Hannah now. Cardinals still not looking like a real championship team, but they're starting to come.
Yeah, it's not Manny Gomez's, most talented
so
team.
far. Well, no.
There's no Mingo Rincon, but there's another 90.
There's another 90. Who was this guy? We got his name, didn't we?
Yeah.
No, we didn't. We didn't get his name.
Yeah.
Want to know who number 90 is? A couple of sacks at the end of the game. I was most impressed by this kid, 90, the right end. I was impressed with the pass rush, man. They didn't give Elizondo a chance. They really were all over him. When I watched the video, it looked like the Harlingen pass rush of old. So that's what I think stands out as the strength right now. And of course, Felix Rain is a very good player. He won the ball game or helped win the ball game with a pick 6.
Yeah, but they're only scoring. They're not scoring a ton of points. 17 points against Brownsville Rivetta, who they're very good.
Scrappy. They're the scrapper.
0-5.
0-5 now.
Yeah, the 0-5 team, but they're a very good team. But 17 points, nevertheless, is not a great score for a Harlingen team.
Well, they went into the week with a 6th-rated defense or offense in the district, and I think South was 7th, and neither one of them is doing that good on defense either. So by the numbers, neither one should be that good, and by the records, they're not that good yet. Yet. What did Manny say after the game? This is the first win of the new season. Mm-hmm. There he puts into words the mantra. In other words, who cares about San Antonio, Reagan? Right, we got to win. We're 1-0. Going to Hannah. Now, Hannah was on a roll, but then San Benito pretty well decked them, didn't they?
It was incredible what San Benito did. San Benito's done a great job. Look, go real quick on San Benito. San Benito's done a great job of what Louis Vetta called revamping. Mm-hmm. I mean, they've changed the offense around. It's not as spread as it had been.
But they still break some plays.
Do. And there's a play where they do a little screen to the middle for the running back, and he goes, 60, 70 yards.
Gabe Vasquez is a good back. We talk about Trevino at Pierce State Memorial. Well, Gabriel Vasquez from San Benito is a good one, too.
Yeah.
He's guaranteed to break a game. Armando Medrano was the guy who had the big reception early in the game against Hannah. They turned it on. It was an avalanche of like 28 points.
Yeah.
I think they beat them 39-10. I expected more out of Hannah, but they were a little bit rusty. Let's face it, man. They hadn't played in forever.
Yeah, and it showed because they couldn't get ready on offense, and San Benito was just. They were better on both sides of the ball.
San Benito has always been the type of team that if they get a lead on you, look out because they are fierce and they love to whoop people. Mm-hmm. So let's see how Hannah does against Harlingen. That's going to be a pretty good ball game there. Now, Los Fresnos, San Benito, that shapes up to be a really slick game this week.
Yeah, it does. Los Fresnos is, one of our top 5 teams.
Yeah, they are.
But
it is.
Los Fresnos has played well. I mean, they've come back against PSG North.
Yeah.
They've played some tough games. They've had some nail biters.
Yeah, they have. Edinburgh North started out, 22-19.
They're a good team, and this is going to be a kind of a bell. What do they call it? Bellwether. I can't remember.
Slobber knocker.
Yeah.
Bell cow. Bellwether.
Yeah. This is going to be one of those games that you can tell how good they are.
A barometer. Yeah.
There we go.
Okay,
let me hang on.
We got it.
All right. But yeah, a barometer. Jesus. But a barometer on how the season's going to go for them. Because if they win this game, I think that they could be the district champ.
Well, they put themselves again in the ubiquitous driver's seat, right?
Yeah.
Thing about the Falcons is they got Eli Cruz back healthy. He had a hamstring for 3 or 4 weeks. Last week he came back, 134 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was running up and down the field. That's going to help them a lot. San Benito, let's see if they can break those big plays against Jordan Rojas and that Los Fresnos defense. That guy had a pick 6. They got some good defensive kids down there. They got another Simeon. I haven't seen what he's done yet, but he's bound to be good. So I have half a mind to try to make that game because both those teams have been somewhat impressive, especially last week. Now, what else do we got here? Oh, Rivera. The ever-present Rivera against Brownsville Veterans. So if you say you think Los Fresnos can put itself in the driver's seat, I say the same thing about Vets. I like that team.
Well, Vets played a great game against South. They came up with a very timely block punt for a touchdown.
2:35 to go. It's incredible. Joey Barra, one of those good linebackers they have. You know, they got size, they got backs, they got some linebackers. I think Rivera's tough.
Yeah, I think.
Vets is tough.
Vets is tough, and they're going to play. They're going to have a tough game against Rivera because look, when Rivera can hold Harlingen to 17, they're going to hold Brownsville Vets down. But Brownsville Vets, I almost want to say this without. I'm not trying to, belittle Harlingen's offense.
No. Oh well, no, don't
They're
say it.
better. They're better than Harlingen's offense.
Sure they are. They're better than a lot of teams. I agree with you. Marcos Castillo, man, dude, we haven't talked a lot about him. We talked about Garza, we talked about this guy. I think that the quarterback for Brownsville Veterans, he can go to the house at any minute, man. That guy's and he's a veteran now. He's a 2-year guy. Him and Derek Rodriguez. No, I think Veterans has a chance to win that district.
Yeah.
But they got to win this game, and Rivera's going to want to play him hard, man. That's another city rivalry down there.
Oh yeah, and it's gonna be a tough game. But Coach Chavez has done a great job of mixing up the offense too this year because there's a lot of pass.
Yeah, they like Big Rubio down there.
Yeah.
They got that little back that we were talking about, Daniel Lueta or some kind of something.
Yeah.
I've already forgotten.
Yeah,
17 though. Yeah,
the
little guy.
scat back.
He's amazing, man. So let's see what happens in that game. And the other one is South against Lopez. Now Lopez got toe up pretty good, 62-0. You just got to wash your mouth out and let's go back to work.
Yeah, and I think South can still score. They've got very, the low numbers.
Mm-hmm.
It almost looks like Brownsville schools of the past, with their
right.
numbers. But they're a good team. They've got a great quarterback. This is going to be the game I think that they can go 1-1.
Yeah, and Steven Rodriguez had 142 last week against Vets. He should probably do the same or more against Lopez. So that's the story on the 6A level, and the show will continue in a minute. So take a deep breath. We're going to go take one, and we'll be back in about 30 seconds or less.